The Loyalty Leaders podcast is brought to you by Loyalty Summit. Loyalty Summit brings together high-powered travel industry executives and influential loyalty leaders from around the globe. For more information, visit loyaltysummit.com. Welcome to episode 87 of the Loyalty Leaders podcast, proudly sponsored by Loyalty Juggernaut. In this episode of the Loyalty Leaders podcast, Roger Williams speaks with Tim Nicholson of adjoe about how rewarded gaming can help loyalty programs engage members between transactions. The conversation explores why traditional CLV metrics are often lagging indicators, how casual gaming can create new earning moments, and how programs can turn member attention into incremental revenue without cannibalizing core sales.
I am Roger Williams, and you're watching the Loyalty Leaders podcast. We're just a week before the Loyalty Summit in London. Apparently, it's quite toasty in London, according to Tim Nicholson, who is joining me today on the podcast. Tim, welcome.
Thank you very much, Roger. Yes, it's a warm day here, and can't complain too much because it's few and far between. But great to be here with you.
Good to have you, Tim. So we're going to start off with one of our most popular segments. We call it AI All Up in Your Business. Are you ready for this one?
Go for it.
So we query the AI. In this case, we queried Google Gemini about you and your profile and your stance in the industry, particularly as it has to do with loyalty. The prompt was, how would you describe Tim Nicholson as a loyalty professional, and what has been the impact on the industry? So I have not revealed this to you. This is the first time you're hearing this. I'm going to read verbatim from Google, and actually it's quite flattering.
Okay.
So it's actually one of the most flattering ones I've seen, and I've done this quite a few times now, Tim. But it says here, based on his career trajectory, you know it's already going to be quite impressive when it starts using words like trajectory and industry presence. Tim Nicholson is best described as commercially focused catalyst who operates at, and this is what's incredible to me, at the bleeding edge of loyalty. Direct quote from Google. Ad tech and fintech, with over 15 years snperience spanning strategic roles at companies like adjoe, which is where you are now, SKU and Sway Outcomes, of course, Epsilon, and Snip, a lot of great companies, right? He isn't your traditional points and tiers loyalty marketer. Instead, he acts as a bridge builder, specializing in forging profitable alliances that inject next-generation marketing technology into legacy reward programs. And it goes on to say a lot of nice things about you, that you're a strategic connector, you champion engagement loyalty in your work through platforms like adjoe. You've been the driving force in shifting the industry away from purely transactional loyalty, where the customer only interacts with an app when they buy something, and you champion time as currency, which we're going to talk about today. And adjoe, you're doing some really fascinating work with brands, working with a lot of big brands like Fetch and KFC. So it's really, really fascinating where we look at your model, and I would like you to talk about this unique model a little bit more in terms of how you're driving engagement. And you've really shifted, as Google has just said, really you've really influenced the shift from transactional loyalty to engagement loyalty. But my question to you is, how does integrating rewarded gaming functionality, how does that impact the way a brand measures customer lifetime value?
Yeah, great. I mean, when we look at loyalty programs and I guess all the KPIs that they do track, loyalty programs have historically measured CLV, backwards. We look at transaction frequency, we infer loyalty, then wait for the booking to confirm it, right? And that's really kind of a lagging indicator. And by the time member frequency drops off, you've already lost them. The real question that no program has really answered well is kind of, what does engagement look like between the transaction? If you can measure that, you have a leading indicator. And it's really kind of looking at that dormancy gap, that really kind of what we kind of really look at adjoe. Something like that tells you months in advance whether a member is becoming more or less loyal. Programs haven't solved this because the gap isn't a design failure. We can't fix it by making your app prettier or notifications smarter. It's really structural. And a travel program's natural earning point is in that trip moment. Everything between trips simply doesn't exist in your commercial model. No earning event, no reason to open the app, no engagement signals, there's no data. You're completely visible to your member for months at a time. And that's not a product problem you can iterate your way out of. You need fundamentally a new earning surface. So a member who opens your app 3 times a week to play games, to earn miles, is building behavioral relationships with your program between trips. They're not transacting, they're habit forming. And that frequency creates that habit creates stickiness reduces churn, and the reduced churn is the single biggest lever on lifetime value. If a member who would have lapsed after 18 months instead stays engaged because they're earning miles 3 times a week, well, lifetime value of that member is completely different, and that's what Arcade is here to solve.
Wow, that's really fascinating. So really it's a leading indicator as opposed to a trailing indicator. You are becoming a lot more proactive with your engagement. Is it a fair assessment?
Absolutely. So, as I said, I think there's a lot of white space. When you think of loyalty programs are phenomenal in that transaction moment, but outside of that transaction moment, it's kind of that dormancy area that we are trying to, really shift.
So, Tim, I'm curious, is this the rationale, and it makes perfect sense, that you would provide to a brand that may have a little bit of hesitancy on using this model?
Yeah, I guess, we always have this conversation. There's always, pushback. I think, every time we've had this conversation, 2 clear objectives always come up together. Because they are the same concerns wearing 2 different hats. On brand safety, the question that often comes up, will mobile games cheapen our premium brand travel brand? Does Candy Crush sit in business class? And on member relevance, our members are executives, they're frequent flyers, they're not gamers, and both feel and are legitimate. The question or the answer to both is the same. You're pitching the wrong type of gaming entirely. When people hear mobile games, they picture teenagers and battle royales at 3 a.m. But that's not what we're talking about here. And here's some stats for you. 2.8 billion people play casual mobile games globally. The average player is 38 years old. And so playing Wordle before bed, a puzzle on the train, or a word game waiting for a coffee, your frequent flyer sat in 2A is statistically likely to play more of these games on the flight. They are a gamer, they just don't call themselves one. The demographic concerns really do evaporate the moment that you look at the data. And so when a brand concern doesn't materialize in practice, because Arcade is designed from the ground up to be invisible. Your member never knows we exist. They open your app, they see your branding, they play a game, they earn the miles. The game studio is nowhere in that experience. We are the infrastructure underneath, not the experience on top. And so we don't want your members to know our name. We want them to love your program more, and that's exactly what the engagement data shows. Once the programs get past the brand and member questions, the real work begins in getting 3 teams to agree on the ownership, right? So product needs to set or allocate the SDK integration time. Loyalty needs to decide where Arcade sits in that customer journey. And commercial needs to agree on how success is measured. And to be honest, none of these conversations are difficult, and they all need to happen. The programs that move the fastest, appoint a single owner early, and they give the mandate to pull other functions along very, very quickly.
Yeah, that's a very rational approach. Tim, is there a way that a brand can personalize games to certain personality types, or even by demographics or by age? Is there any level of customization in that regard?
Absolutely. No, I mean, and that's kind of, going back to the brand safety. So we will always intrinsically, map it to your brand standards, making sure that the games are populated to your members, that are curated with the loyalty leaders or the program owners with them. So it's all kind of in the back end, it's all AI driven. So we're looking at demographic data to kind of populate the right games. But I think the other thing that we also look at is that we only populate up to 10 games at a time. I think if you jump onto any app, you can become doom scrolling if you're kind of like trying to find the right game, right? So we want to make it kind of highly relevant and highly personalized with that. So yeah, it's we take a lot of care in the beginning in terms of that setup and implementation process.
And I see that you maintain a healthy staff of data scientists. I was looking at the site, and you were advertising for data science positions, so I imagine there's quite a bit of analysis that goes into matching these.
100%. I mean, I think, the success of adjoe over the last couple of years, I mean, we've only been going since 2018, but really now the more and more, as the company expands, the more and more the wider team is coming on board. So it's great to see the different roles coming on board as well, which is great. But we do take a very kind of, really detailed look at the data that obviously we are generating, because, it's kind of almost net new data. And we're like bringing that to the brands in a much more kind of meaningful way.
Wow, there's just so much more to just the gameplay. I mean, this is really reinforcing those habitual patterns that you want to establish in a loyalty program, right?
Yeah.
So really, in wrapping up here, Tim, let's talk money, right? Because this is really what brands, especially airlines, and we're coming into the airline loyalty summit next week in London, and they're really all about the ancillary or incremental revenue. So quickly walk us through the mechanics of really how a brand's going to turn arcade and all the other mechanics that you're going to provide for them, the gameplay, into actual incremental revenue, but without cannibalizing their primary sales. How do you do that?
Yeah. So I guess kind of when you look at the members, they finish their flight, they go home, they're on their phone, consuming content, playing games, scrolling, whatever the case may be. All of that attention has a commercial value, but it's just not to your loyalty program. The game that they are playing on a different app, that developer is generating advertising revenue from your members' attention. You've spent years acquiring that member, building the relationship with them, and then between transactions, you disappear, from their life, while other companies are monetizing their time. And that's the gap Arcade is here to close. The mechanic is actually quite straightforward. So when your member plays a game, the studio pays adjoe for that engaged session. adjoe uses part of that revenue to fund the miles or points that the member has earned, and the program takes a revenue share on top. So the advertisers are the game studios. They're not airlines. They're not hotels. There's zero commercial overlap. A member earning miles at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday was never going to book a flight instead. So this is genuinely net new incremental revenue just purely from attention. So, your members have played, they've enjoyed the experience, their balance increased, and your program issued 0 miles from its own budget. The advertiser funded the reward entirely, and your liability doesn't move. Your cost to serve doesn't increase, and you have a net new revenue line that didn't exist before. So let me just kind of, I guess as we wrap up, bring it back. So the member attention between trips was, commercially worthless, right? So you had no mechanism to capture it and no ability to turn that into program value. Arcade now makes that monetizable. The program stops paying for between trip engagement and starts earning from it. The cost center becomes a net new revenue line, and simultaneously members are earning your currency, building habit, and generating CLV signals you've never had before. And that's the real paradigm shift for us. Both things are happening at once, and the combination changes the fundamental economics of running a loyalty program.
Fascinating. Shifting from trailing indicators to leading indicators on customer lifetime value. This has been Tim Nicholson, Sales Director of MarTech and Partnerships at adjoe. Tim, thank you so much for joining Loyalty Leaders Podcast, and I'll see you in London.
Great. Thanks, Roger. Take care. Bye-bye.
The Loyalty Leaders Podcast is proudly sponsored by Loyalty Juggernaut. In our next interview, recorded at Loyalty Summit CXM Chicago 2026, Dave Androdakis speaks with Steve Allman of the Canadian Automobile Association, CAA, about how CAA has evolved beyond roadside assistance into insurance, travel, partnerships, and member benefits. Steve discusses how AI is changing roadside dispatch, insurance risk, and travel search, why CAA thinks about loyalty as inherent in membership rather than as a standalone program, and how trust, reciprocity, safety, and everyday value drive long-term member retention.
Hey everyone, it's Dave Androdakis with the Loyalty Leaders Podcast. I am with Steve Allman with the Canadian Automobile Association, lovingly known as CAA. How you doing, Steve?
Doing great, Dave. Yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. We're in Chicago right now for the Loyalty Summit CXM in 2026. It started off snowing and raining when we got here, and now it's beautiful and sunny out, but still a little bit chilly. It's been a great show. Have you been enjoying it so far, Steve?
It's been fantastic. Seeing some old friends, meeting some new friends, and learning some things I didn't even know I was going to learn. So it's all good.
Yeah, absolutely. I do like this conference for that. Is you get a bunch of people that are in what I call the old guard, and then some of the new guard, and it's interesting. You have people that show up that are new with new technology, new ideas, zero context, zero experience, and then you've got a bunch of old guard that are still trying to figure out how to open AI at the same time. So it's a good mix for that. All right, but let's talk about you for a little bit now.
Sure.
I'm very familiar with AAA in the U.S. Right, I've used it for years. Gave it to my kids as a gift for Christmas. But tell me what's the same or different about CAA for our neighbors to the north, if we want to know.
Yeah, thanks. CAA, it's basically the same model. We're a little bit younger. I think they're 120 years old. We're 113 years old. We are 8 clubs across Canada. 7.5 million Canadians trust us with their roadside assistance. We are also an insurance company. We're a travel company, and we have some phenomenal rewards partners. What's different about us is really about size and scale, but also the fact that unlike the U.S., we don't have warm states.
Yeah.
We pretty much got 10 cold provinces. BC might challenge us a little bit, but we're very much more about 4 seasons. So we get impacted by winter weather and summer weather and everything else in between.
Sure.
But it's a great business, great organization, and very trusted brand.
Yeah, so you've got an interesting role, right? So you're the chief strategy officer. I've lived in that role myself. Tell me what your biggest challenges are and a little bit about what you have to do on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, so my role, we're the CAA National, so we're the umbrella group for all of the clubs. Essentially, the clubs run the business, and we are consultants to the stars. So as chief strategy officer, I have a bunch of different groups sitting under me. I have our membership and marketing team that works for me, our travel team, our insurance team, automotive services, really the plumbing of CAA, if you like, tow trucks, dispatch, et cetera. And I've got our partnerships business. And our partnerships business is essentially member benefits that we give to our CAA members for being part of CAA. Yeah. That could be a travel benefit. That could be a fuel benefit. That could be dining, any number of different things.
Yeah.
So it's really the business lines, the operating business lines, and then we work with the clubs to help develop the strategy and execute it.
Yeah. Now, the business has evolved slightly over those 113 years.
A little bit.
But tell me about the latest evolution. Like, how is AI affecting your business as it's affecting everyone's business?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. One, I'll break it into 3 buckets. I'll break it into actually the automotive side, the insurance side, and the travel side, because they're all very different. From an automotive standpoint, we had about 3 million roadside incidents in Canada last year. So what does that mean? That means everything from I locked my keys in the car, I locked the kid in the car, hopefully you didn't, flat tire, broken down, whatever it could be. We now know where you were, what car you were driving, when it happened, what we did with it. So we have the capability to do better dispatch. If we can put tow trucks in the right place, it's way more efficient for our providers, way more efficient for us. So now you can take AI and something that would take an analyst months and months and months to do, build it into the program, funnel it out, and away you go. Yeah. On the insurance side, same thing. We know a lot about what's going on in the climate, incidents, risk analysis, and everything else. So we can start to use AI to predict things better. We can't predict with certainty that there's going to be a hailstorm like there was in Chicago, right? Or there's going to be a hailstorm on Tuesday at 2:00. But if we know that historically in these 3 weeks, hail is more likely, we can start to at least do some protection on it.
Yeah.
The last one that I talk about probably isn't as good a story for us is AI in the travel business. In the old days, you'd call up Mary, your travel advisor, and say, Mary, I'm taking my family to Disney and I want to know what I want to do.
Yeah.
Now what happens? Somebody goes, hey, Chat GPT, I'm taking my family to Disney. What do I need to do? And so it changes the way people start to search, which means we have to adapt to how we build our business around that.
Are you doing anything to affect chat-based search?
We are. So a couple of the clubs are actually building AI chatbots right into their search and also dispatch. So again, as you call, you're no longer talking to a customer service representative when your car breaks down. You're actually talking to a chatbot, and it might say things like, where are you? Are you okay?
Yeah.
Is it urgent? Are you standing on the side of the road? Or are you in your garage or in your house having coffee? And so it will actually navigate you through the process and then allow us to both track it and also submit the request to our service providers faster.
I got you. Now, you told me a little bit about this as you were describing your role, but what are the biggest challenges that you're facing right now?
Yeah, so I think the biggest challenge for us is our most expensive business is roadside. And so as car ownership changes, I was talking to somebody today about autonomous vehicles. Where do we go? So what does our business look like today? What is our business going to look like in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years? And how does that change how we build ourselves for the future? The second part that's hard, we're a federated model. So for those of you who don't know what a federated model is, we are 8 clubs, which are 8 standalone businesses that all work under the CAA umbrella. So for me, the joy is 8 CTOs, 8 CIOs, 8 legal, 8 CEOs, all with the same vision, but each with their own business unit. And our clubs range from 150,000 members to 2.5 million.
Yeah.
So there's quite a range that's in there. Great people, really smart, passionate about the business, and we're a very trusted brand, so we sort of make that the core of what we do. I think the last thing I'd say that is a challenge for us is we're actually a not-for-profit, which most people don't know. As a not-for-profit, that changes the way that you actually build your business. So we're about member value. We're not necessarily about profitability.
I see.
So how do you reinvest in the business when all you're doing is reinvesting back in your members?
That leads to a question. I mean, it's a very unique business model.
It is.
There's not 15 others like you to look at and say, hey, let's go see what they're doing. How do you this is a two-parter. The first is, what is the role of loyalty in this very unique business model? I mean, it's about peace of mind. It's about trust.
Yeah.
Like, talk to me about how a loyalty program sits on top of that.
So loyalty, and it's whether you define it as big L or small L loyalty, it doesn't really matter. But we don't think of ourselves as a loyalty program. We think of ourselves as a program that has loyalty inherent in it. So what do I mean by that? People join CAA for a reason. They may join it because of the roadside, the travel, the insurance. They get all the benefits and the perks of being that. So case in point, a CAA member can walk into a Shell location anywhere in Canada, insert their card, do it on the app, link whatever they want to do, get 3 cents a liter. So that is only available to CAA members. If you're not a CAA member, you're not getting 3 cents a liter. Now you might say 3 cents a liter, that's not a lot. It actually does add up quite a bit. Yeah. It's high frequency, as you know, in the fuel business. So those benefits start to build inherent loyalty. Here's what we know. A member who signs up with us and does nothing has a higher chance to attrite than a member who signs up with us and does one thing.
Sure.
2 things, 3 things, 4 things, 5 things. So we know first year loyalty is really tough. I signed up and you go, I didn't use it. I don't want it again. But if we can prove to you that by signing up, I think an average membership, $100, something like that. I don't know what you paid for your kids, but probably give or take a little bit. But if you know that you got good value out of it, I got good value on my fuel, on dining, on insurance, on travel, you may have saved $5,000 that you only got as a CAA or a AAA member.
Yeah.
That's inherent loyalty. The second part of it is trust. So our members truly, truly trust us. When they see a AAA or a CAA truck show up, it's almost like you go, okay, I'm good.
Yeah, yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, Dave, where do you live in the States?
In Florida.
So from the great state of Florida, if you happen to bring your family up to Canada and you break down, you call AAA, and it's actually a CAA truck that will come up and service you.
Oh, that's great.
If I'm driving down in Florida and I'm taking my kids or grandkids, future grandkids, down to Disney World, and I break down, I call my home club in Ontario, and it's a AAA club vehicle that will show up. So full reciprocity.
Yeah.
And in fact, that happens right around the world.
Okay.
We have sister clubs around the world where it's the same reciprocity. That's
Wow.
comfort zone. So that's true loyalty.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
That's how you get 90% retention.
Well, I think that's great. And so encouraging those not redemptions, but encouraging engagement, right?
Correct.
Is
All about
is what it's all
engagement.
about.
All about
so,
engagement.
So my second part of this question is, in a unique business model that you have so much, you talked about the different silos of the company. That sounds like everybody works really well together. But how do you find room for innovation? Right, which is a core part of strategy. How do you find room for innovation in this space?
So that's a really exciting question, and I'll tell you why. So CAA has 8 clubs who don't compete with each other.
Yeah.
So we learn from each other, and I'll give you an example in Canada. One of our clubs said, we're really worried about the future of our business. So what did they do? They created a new membership tier, which is non-roadside. We call it everyday. Some clubs call it everyday, some call it differently. But basically what it means is I join CAA for a fee. I get all those perks and benefits unless my car breaks down.
Yeah.
If my car breaks down, I can't call CAA. Now, you could call us, we'll sign you up. But that's not the purpose of it. Who's it targeted at? Car share, people who own their own vehicle, new vehicle, so they're under a roadside warranty, whatever it could be. So that's innovation within a Canadian club that's now spread across Canada. The second part would be that we also work very closely with AAA. So as they're doing things and we're doing things, how do we actually share best practices, innovation, new ideas, new technology? The loyalty platform that we use in Canada was purpose-built for Canada. It's also now in the United States. Even better, we're actually part of 2 other groups. So CAA is part of a group called the FIA.
Okay.
So anybody in this world who is a Formula One fan knows what the FIA steward is, the rule setter. Well, they actually have 2 groups. They have a roadside mobility group and a sporting group. So the FIA actually sets the rules and governance around auto safety and a bunch of rules. We're part of that group, which means I can pick up the phone and call or do a Teams call with anybody from Uzbekistan or from Germany or from South America. However, AAA is not part of FIA. So we have another group called the GMA, which is the Global Mobility Alliance.
Okay.
So this year alone, we have 4 conferences that are coming up. One is on AI, one is on new ventures, one is on membership, and one is on partnerships.
Yeah.
So these are all best practices that we learn from clubs around the world, and we share. And that to me is super exciting because we're not competing with each other. We actually cooperate.
Well, I love that. It's wholesome, it's uplifting, and best of all worlds that way.
It is.
But talk to me a little bit about that data. I mean, I imagine that it is not just helpful for you, but probably very sought after from government, from safety, from other people trying to figure out where to build better roads and bridges and traffic lights. What kind of unique partnerships do you have out there to help it be a better place?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have, again, because we know about the roadside incidents, we're able to do a bunch of things, including where accidents happen, so we can start to track some accident information. We actually did a study, and I apologize, I can't remember the name of the company that we did it with, but we were actually leveraging safety cameras to track near misses of pedestrians. It seems quite gruesome, but it's actually very important. And you could see actually how it was the pedestrian or the vehicle that was doing it. We've also got some great partnerships around road safety. There's a couple programs that we're working on right now to save our drivers. Last year in North America, we lost 18 drivers, 2 in Ontario in the last 2 weeks before Christmas.
Wow.
So we have a lot of partnerships around road safety, which actually start to then translate to vehicle safety for the consumer. So if we can do things to do accident avoidance, we have safety testing vehicles. We have all these groups that are out there. So everything that we do is about safety, trust, and advocacy. And if we can deliver that to the consumer, great. If we can deliver it to our partner, great. If it can be more cost effective, even better.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's about delivering that trust and advocacy.
I appreciate that. I've got one more question for you. I want to make sure the audience knows who I am. I'm Dave Andriadakis with Loyalty Juggernaut, and I'm the Chief Commercial Officer, and I've absolutely loved talking loyalty with all of these professionals and leaders in this industry. So my final question for you is, I imagine part of your mission or part of the ethos is to get people out there driving. Where is your favorite destination that you would like to travel to that you want the world to know about?
From a driving standpoint or just in general?
From a driving standpoint.
So I do want to drive from Vancouver all the way down to Cabo.
Okay.
Along the coast. That's number one. Number two is I want to drive in the Alps in Europe.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I did a little bit in Italy last year. I got a bit of a taste for it, but that West Coast drive right down Vancouver, right down to the tip of Baja, that would be pretty cool.
Well, give me a call if you do that. Sounds fantastic.
Okay.
Steve, it was great talking to you.
Thank you,
you
Dave.
so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on the Loyalty Leaders Podcast, proudly sponsored by Loyalty Juggernaut. For more information on Loyalty Summit, visit loyaltysummit.com.